So I welcome any questions, no matter how hard they may be, or how nasty maybe the accusations may be. I am willing to answer those accusations and get down to the root issue.
Okay, what I want to do is, Teresa, as you want to ask a question, if you bring the mic to them, don't spit on it though.
Who has a question for Mayor McDowell? Nobody has a question?
I was told that you're not following the budget that's already been passed by the council.
It's a very good question. So a budget is an expectation of expenses. We don't have a magic ball. We don't know if the expenses are going to come in exactly how we predict, how we think. And typically you use historical data to gauge what your actual expenses will be. And every year, the budget will be under or over. But a guarantee is it will never be exactly what the council approves, because things change, expenses go up. So when a council passes a budget, they are giving me the authorization to spend a certain amount of money within each fund. It doesn't mean we have to spend it. If there's not a necessary expense, or that money can't be spent, like you couldn't hire a contractor to chip seal the roads, this fiscal year we don't spend the money. We're not required to spend the money. So they create these budgets within the three funds, and we do our best to fulfill the obligation following both state law and good accounting practices. Now, good, generally acceptable accounting practices state that when you have an expense, you get a receipt and you bring it in, is that you apply it to wherever that expense was. So if that receipt was for entertainment, we would log it in QuickBooks or Quicken under entertainment. We wouldn't log that under legal fees. So as the expenses come in, we log the expenses appropriately. Now, why is that important? It's important because you need good data to begin to manage your finances. So if we just put them in any category randomly, just didn't really care where it went, at the end of the year, we couldn't drive down and ask the question, how much did it cost us for this? So we have started, since I became mayor, we've gone through and revamped the accounting system. We had an accountant come in that was recommended by the Department of Revenue, reorganize our chart of accounts. We hired three initially very qualified people that had accounting experience to sit down and help us reorganize our chart of accounts and take all those expenses as they came in and log them accurately to where they were spent. In the town, we have three major funds. We have the water, we have the sewer, and we have the general. And the revenue is different for each one of those. The water and sewer, you guys are charged a fee, the residents are, and we pay that fee for certain services. That fee is supposed to cover the operations and maintenance and long-term reserves for that infrastructure, that water plant up there on the hill and the sewer lagoons that are down there. The general funds are all money that is created, that is brought in through tax revenue. It's brought in from the state through options tax as well as our property taxes. The general revenue is meant to pay for our general operations, our roads, our streets, our sidewalks, our law enforcement, our buildings, and the labor to maintain that infrastructure in our town, which includes some public works and administration. So we have these three different funds. And whenever somebody goes out and works and they submit their timesheet, they put, where did they spend the time? Did they spend it in water? Did they spend it in sewer? Or did they spend it in the general fund? And our treasurers, our accountants, our clerks, our treasurers record that data accurately, whether it's in the water, the sewer, or the general fund. So the council can pass a budget, but there's no guarantee if they don't have good data that it's not going to be a good budget. What they give me authorization to do is spend up to the allowable appropriations, but not over, within each fund. So I can only spend the budgeted amount in the water. I can only spend the budgeted amount in the sewer, and I can only spend the budgeted amount in the general fund. However, we don't necessarily have to spend all that money. So the budget is the maximum allowed expenses that we can spend in our community before we have to ask the council for more money. So when the employees bring in these receipts, where they spent their money, we allocate them accurately so we can get a track record of operations and maintenance for each of the funds, is that we can see how much money is being spent in the water, how much money is being spent in the sewer, or how much money is being spent in the general fund. The town council last January 10th passed a budget that says we're going to allocate labor for water and sewer through public works to be 33% of their total labor force, which is not a realistic number. And we know because we did a work audit. So every week for a year, those guys have been logging every single hour exactly what they do in the water, the sewer, and the general fund. So we have fairly accurate data for 1 year as to the operations and maintenance expenses for the water and the sewer and the general fund. So when we have 70% expenses going out in the general fund for public works, 18% in the water and 12% in the sewer, and they only appropriate or allow me to spend 33%, we have a problem in the general fund because I'm only authorized to spend 33%, not 70%. However, we don't have to spend the 33% in the water and sewer, we spend less, which is great. That means we're making some money, we're putting it in reserves, planning for the future. So the problem is that the budget they created was not a realistic representation of our actual operating expenses for the community. And they said, we still want you to spend that money. And I said, how? They want me to take the money from the water and sewer to cover the deficit spending in the general fund. And I said, I can't do that because that violates state law. And they said, we still want you to do it. And I still say, I can't do that, still violates state law. So we go back and forth, and I get them experts from the Department of Revenue, the Local Government Services, the CPA. I get them experts from our auditor that all state the same thing. They state that we must use the most exact information we have available in order to account for expenses. So that's why, yes, that's correct. They budgeted an unrealistic budget, but they said your maximum expenditures is this much, and I did not spend that money.
Thank you. Very thorough answer. There was a question over here.